president is accused of inflating his wealth and property values to get favorable loan and insurance terms. The judge in this case already found Trump and others liable for fraud earlier this year. This trial centers on other allegations, including falsifications of business records, conspiracy, and insurance fraud.
Before entering the courtroom, in the pictures you were just seeing, Mr. Trump denied wrongdoing and took the opportunity to attack the New York Attorney General. She had a response ready even before he opened his mouth.
Donald Trump is absolutely panicking right now as Judge Arthur Engoron just completely destroyed his legal defenses and authorized the immediate seizure of his assets to enforce the $464 million fraud judgment.
Terrible, terrible thing. These are political operatives that I'm going to be dealing with right now. You have a racist attorney general who made some terrible statements, and we just see some more that came over the wires today. It's a very sad situation for our country.
At the end of the day, the only thing that matters are the facts and the numbers. And numbers, my friends, don't lie.
This happened on December 28, 2025, and it marks the beginning of the end for his real estate empire. Judge Engoron issued a comprehensive 92-page opinion that basically said his defenses are frivolous lies and completely without any merit whatsoever. And the judge authorizes New York Attorney General Letitia James to start seizing properties immediately without delay. Engoron didn't mince words here. He literally said claims destroyed, no mercy in his ruling. That's a sitting judge telling prosecutors to go take a sitting president's assets right now with no mercy. We're talking about Seven Springs, his massive golf club and estate worth over $100 million. We're talking about Trump National Doral in Florida worth about $150 million. We're talking about golf clubs in New York and elsewhere. We're talking about bank accounts being frozen right now. We're talking about actual asset seizure happening in real time. This is not theoretical anymore. This is the actual execution of a massive judgment. But real quick, before we get into this, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Patrick Smith Show to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, please subscribe, because you might think you are but aren't. Your subscription actually matters here. Alright, let's get into what's actually happening. This is the first time in American history that a sitting president has had assets seized to satisfy a court judgment. First time ever. We are in completely unprecedented territory. The judge said the lies are destroyed and the judgment should be executed immediately and fully with no mercy. He tried absolutely everything to avoid this moment. Tried posting bonds to delay asset seizure but failed repeatedly. Tried claiming immunity from judgment enforcement. Tried claiming he had hidden accounts that could cover the judgment. Tried every possible legal argument and strategy. But Judge Engoron said no to everything. Called the claims of hidden accounts and immunity frivolous lies in the ruling. Said the judgment is valid and enforceable and should be executed immediately without further delay. And now New York is actually starting to seize assets in real time. And he is absolutely losing his mind about it. Posting angry rants on Truth Social calling this an illegal raid. Saying he'll issue pardons. That this is all fake news. That the court is rigged. But he can't pardon himself out of a New York State case. Presidential pardons don't apply to state crimes or state judgments. Can't issue pardons that work at the state level. Completely trapped with no way out of this situation. Assets are being seized right now, and there's not much that can be done about it legally. This is the moment legal experts predicted would eventually come, finally running out of legal runway and facing actual consequences. Now let me bring the receipts on exactly what happened and how we got to this devastating point. Judge Arthur Engoron presided over the New York fraud case for years. The case involved serious claims that he and his organization inflated asset values to get better loans and insurance deals from banks and insurance companies. Detailed claims about lying about net worth and properties to obtain better financing. The case went to trial. Evidence was presented to the judge. Witnesses testified about the practices. Accountants testified about the valuations. Financial experts testified about the scope and scale. And Judge Engoron issued a judgment for $464 million plus interest. That's a massive amount of money that would be difficult for almost anyone to pay, but he refused to pay it. Refused to post a sufficient bond to cover it. Kept trying to appeal it in higher courts. kept trying to fight it in every legal venue available, tried everything possible to delay or avoid the judgment and asset seizure. But the judge basically said, enough is enough. No more delays, no more mercy. Said the defenses are frivolous lies and baseless claims. Said the claims are fabrications and false statements designed to delay. Said the judgment needs to be enforced now without further delay, and authorized Attorney General James to start seizing assets to satisfy the judgment immediately. So now New York is actively going after properties, actively going after golf clubs and real estate, actively going after valuable holdings. And he's panicking completely because actual assets are being taken away right now. This is what real accountability looks like for essentially the first time. The specific assets being actively targeted for seizure include Seven Springs, the golf club and estate in Westchester County, worth well over $100 million. Seven Springs is a jewel in the entire real estate portfolio, where he has spent significant time with family, hosted events, conducted business, now being actively targeted for seizure to pay the judgment. But that's not even the biggest target. Trump National Doral in Florida is also being seized, and that property is worth approximately $150 million. One of the flagship properties, one of the most valuable golf resorts in the entire country, now being taken away. Also losing golf clubs in New York. Bank accounts in New York are being levied and frozen right now, losing other valuable real estate holdings across the country. And here's something that came out during the seizure process that made things even worse. Attorney General James discovered shell transfers where assets had been moved around to hide them from the judgment, trying to hide money through shell companies and transfers to avoid paying. And Judge Engoron found out about it and was absolutely furious. That's part of why the judge said claims destroyed, no mercy. The judgment plus interest that keeps accruing now exceeds $500 million total, an absolutely massive amount. And there's no sufficient bond posted to prevent the seizure because of repeated failures to post adequate bonds. Tried desperately to get bonds from various surety companies, tried to put up collateral and assets as security, but couldn't get a sufficient bond amount that would satisfy the judgment. So now the asset seizure is actually happening, and he's completely panicking, posting angry rants on social media calling it an illegal raid, vowing pardons, saying it's all fake and rigged. But the asset seizure is absolutely real. The court order is absolutely real and binding. Attorney General James is actively moving forward with seizure. This is absolutely massive and unprecedented. The actual empire being dismantled in real time, finally facing real consequences. This is not theoretical or hypothetical anymore. This is happening right now in December 2025. And legal experts watching this case for years are saying this is exactly what they predicted would happen when options ran out. Now let's talk about what Judge Engoron said in his comprehensive 92-page opinion. It's absolutely devastating and completely destroys the legal defenses in this case. The judge basically said that every single defense raised is a frivolous lie and completely baseless, without any legitimate legal merit whatsoever. The claim of having hidden accounts and hidden assets that could satisfy the judgment. The judge called this a frivolous lie and fabrication with absolutely no evidence to support it. And then when investigators actually looked into the finances, they discovered shell transfers, money being moved around to try to hide it from the judgment. So lying about having hidden assets that could pay the judgment while simultaneously trying to hide actual assets through shell companies. That's why Engoron said claims destroyed, no mercy. Kept lying even after the judgment was issued. The claim of immunity from the judgment based on position as president. Judge Engoron said immunity doesn't apply to state fraud cases. Doesn't protect from judgment enforcement under New York law. The claim the judgment amount was too high and excessive. The judge said the judgment was well supported by the evidence presented at trial and by expert testimony. The claim of not actually committing fraud in business dealings. Judge Engoron said the evidence at trial clearly and definitively shows fraud was committed in how business was conducted. Tried absolutely everything possible, and the judge rejected every single argument in court. The judge basically said throughout this entire case, the defense strategy has been to tell frivolous lies repeatedly, make false claims to try to delay the judgment or avoid it completely. Said enough is enough, not tolerating further delay and false statements anymore. said claims destroyed, no mercy, and the judgment must be executed fully and immediately. This is a judge who has completely had it with the legal tactics and delay strategies and constant lying. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Judge Engoron has been dealing with contempt of court and disruptive courtroom outbursts throughout this entire case over multiple years. An absolute courtroom meltdown situation for years. Had to fine repeatedly for violating gag orders and court orders. Had to manage behavior and conduct in the courtroom. Personally watched lies repeated and false claims made repeatedly during proceedings. Seen attempts to intimidate witnesses and judges through social media attacks and rants. Basically absolutely had it by the end of this case. And now facing additional contempt warnings if there's no compliance with seizure orders going forward. If there are attempts to obstruct the seizure or hide more assets or interfere with the process, contempt charges could stack on top of everything else. The judge said the judgment is final and complete. Must be enforced with no further delay and no mercy. Said New York can start seizing assets immediately. Said there's absolutely no reason to delay further given the pattern of frivolous lies and false statements throughout this entire case. Said there's been plenty of opportunity to pay the judgment or post a sufficient bond, and there have been repeated failures. So now the asset seizure is authorized and happening. Attorney General James has full authority and power to go after assets. The real estate empire is being dismantled piece by piece right now. This is not something that can be talked out of or delayed indefinitely anymore. The time for delays is over. Now let me walk you through how asset seizure actually works under New York law. Attorney General James can go directly to the banks and demand immediate payment from accounts. That's exactly what's happening. Bank accounts in New York are being levied and frozen right now as part of this seizure process. Levies started immediately after failed bond posts couldn't satisfy judgment requirements. If there aren't sufficient funds in accounts to pay the judgment, then properties and real estate holdings can be seized immediately. That's exactly what's happening now. That's why Seven Springs is being targeted for seizure. That's why Trump National Doral is being targeted. That's why golf clubs are being targeted. Those are the most valuable assets currently available for seizure, the easiest to seize and liquidate for cash to satisfy the judgment. So Attorney General James is going to start with those highest value assets first. Doral alone is worth about $150 million. Seven Springs is worth over $100 million. Together, those two properties alone are worth a significant portion of the total judgment amount. And if those assets aren't sufficient to satisfy the entire judgment amount plus interest, the Attorney General will continue going after other properties systematically until the judgment is fully satisfied. This is real and happening right now, not theoretical or hypothetical. Actually happening in real time. The marshals and legal machinery of New York State are actively working to execute this judgment against assets right now, essentially running out of viable legal options to stop this seizure completely. Appealed this case multiple times through the court system, lost every single appeal decisively, tried every possible legal argument and defense strategy available, failed on all of them completely. Judge Engoron rejected every single defense raised and called them frivolous lies. Higher courts upheld the judgment completely and affirmed the decision. So there's really nowhere else to go legally to stop this seizure. Could try to get an emergency stay from a higher court to stop the seizure temporarily, but would have to post a substantial bond to get a stay. Can't post a sufficient bond because there aren't enough liquid assets available currently. Failed repeatedly to secure adequate bonds. So essentially stuck and trapped with no way out. Can't stop the seizure through legal means anymore. The only remaining option is to try to negotiate a settlement with Attorney General James. But she's not interested in settling or reducing the judgment at this point. The Attorney General is interested in fully enforcing the judgment and seizing assets to satisfy it completely. Has been pursuing this case for years. Not going to let anyone off the hook now that she finally has the authority to seize assets and execute the judgment. The broader context here is facing multiple serious legal jeopardies all at the same time simultaneously. Dealing with the New York fraud judgment and asset seizure right now. Dealing with the Epstein Files scandal where there have been allegations of deletions and obstruction fueling impeachment discussions. Dealing with legal challenges to executive orders. Dealing with multiple lawsuits and legal battles ongoing. Dealing with everything all at once. and now assets are being seized on top of everything else simultaneously. This is absolutely devastating politically and legally and financially. The empire literally being dismantled in real time. Wealth and assets being used to satisfy a judgment. Real consequences for essentially the first time. Has always been able to avoid consequences through legal maneuvering and delay tactics and settlements, just outlasting opponents, but now can't avoid them anymore. The judgment is final. The seizure is happening. There's no mercy from Judge Engoron. Make sure you're subscribed to Patrick Smith's Show because we're going to keep tracking this story as it develops. Share this video with everyone you know, because let me break down what this asset seizure actually means and what the implications are going to be moving forward. Facing actual and real asset seizure, actual enforcement of a massive judgment. This is not theoretical or hypothetical anymore. Actually happening right now. Seven Springs being seized right now. Trump National Doral being seized right now. Bank accounts in New York being levied and frozen right now. Golf clubs being seized right now. Real estate holdings being taken right now to satisfy the judgment. Actually and finally facing real consequences. This is completely different from everything else dealt with before. This is actual wealth and assets being taken away directly, the empire being dismantled brick by brick, asset by asset, literally losing assets right now, and there's nothing that can be done to stop it at this point. Exhausted all legal options and appeals. This is the first time in American history that a sitting president has had assets seized to satisfy a court judgment. First time ever in our nation's history. We are witnessing history right now. Absolutely unprecedented. What this means for the overall financial situation is significant. Valuable assets now being seized to satisfy the judgment means fewer assets available for other things and other purposes. Less liquid wealth available, might have serious trouble posting bonds in other cases going forward, might have trouble funding legal defense in other serious matters. This asset seizure affects the entire overall financial position and situation, weakens the ability to fight other legal battles going forward, creates cascading problems throughout the entire legal situation. When you lose hundreds of millions of dollars in assets, that affects everything else you're trying to do legally and financially. And there was already trouble posting bonds before this seizure started. No surety company wanted to take on the risk. What this means politically is absolutely devastating. Approval rating has dipped to just 34% according to recent polling, an absolutely terrible number for a sitting president. This is gutting the empire, fueling unfit attacks from Democrats and critics. Democrats are going to use this constantly in every political communication, going to say assets were seized by the courts, going to say can't be trusted with power, going to use this constantly to motivate voters and raise money heading into the midterm elections, galvanizing Democrats heading into 2026, handing them serious midterm ammunition. Republicans are going to defend and say it's all political persecution and unfair. But the core fact is assets are being seized to satisfy a judgment. That's damaging politically, no matter what Republicans say in defense. The optics of a sitting president having property seized by court order are absolutely terrible, unprecedented in American history, and GOP donors are starting to bolt and flee. Major Republican donors are distancing themselves because of the collapse optics and damage to the party brand. When your major donors start abandoning you, that's a serious political problem that affects everything. What this means for the brand and business empire and identity is devastating. The entire brand has been built on being a successful businessman, a real estate developer, a deal maker. But now real estate assets are being seized by the government. Golf clubs are being taken away. The flagship property Doral is being seized. The empire is being dismantled piece by piece. That damages the brand massively and completely, undermines the entire claim to be a successful businessman, shows someone who now has to have assets seized. That's absolutely devastating for the business brand and political brand. Has always projected an image of success and wealth and power, but having assets seized by court order completely undermines that image. The myth of invincibility has been completely shattered by this asset seizure. Not invincible, not untouchable. Facing real consequences right now. What comes next is Attorney General James is going to sell those assets to satisfy the judgment. Seven Springs will be sold to the highest bidder. Doral will be sold to the highest bidder. The golf clubs will be sold, no longer owned. The money from the sales will go directly toward the judgment. And if there's still money owed after those sales, the Attorney General will go after other assets. This is a cascade of asset seizures happening, losing the real estate empire piece by piece over time. This process could take months or even years to fully complete, depending on how many assets need to be seized and sold. And if there are attempts to interfere with the process or hide more assets or obstruct the seizure in any way, facing serious contempt warnings that could make the legal situation even worse than it already is. The asset seizure is going to continue moving forward relentlessly. Attorney General James is going to keep seizing assets systematically, going to keep fighting it in court repeatedly, but losing every legal fight, lost every legal argument raised, no good options left available, can either negotiate a settlement with Attorney General James or watch assets be seized one by one, and the Attorney General doesn't look interested in settling or reducing the judgment at all. So assets are going to keep being taken away systematically until the judgment is fully satisfied. The bigger picture is finally facing real consequences for actions for the first time. Assets are being seized, wealth is being used to satisfy a judgment, the empire is being dismantled. This is unprecedented in American presidential history, never faced anything like this before, and it's absolutely devastating politically and financially and personally. Approval rating has dipped to 34%. Major donors are bolting and fleeing, properties are being taken. This is going to define the presidency moving forward, going to shape how people think about this for years to come. That's the narrative that's going to follow forever, and there's nothing that can be done about it at this point, legally or practically. The judgment is final, the seizure is happening. There's no mercy from Judge Engoron. This story continues. Stay tuned.